Get to enjoy the work of our man Eddie Olczyk, as he and Doc Emmer call that. Edzo joins us here now, and Eddie, it's starting to look more and more like we will see the Stanley Cup raised at some point in September, October, who knows? But the phasing of hockey's return continues with that next phase of groups of no more than 6 starting to allowed to be happening. So, what is the conversation you've been hearing about the potential walk down this road to get hockey back here sometime this summer?
Well, Mike, it's always great to see you, and thanks for having me. You're just teasing that '09 Cup final, and you know that very well, living in that area of Detroit. Don't forget, the one interesting sidebar with that final was Marian Hossa, right? Hossa was on the losing side of back-to-back Stanley Cup finals, right? Pittsburgh loses, Detroit loses, and then he leaves and he goes to Chicago for the 3rd straight year, which is absolutely unbelievable, Mike, where he could be on 3 different teams in 3 straight years and be in the Stanley Cup final. The 3rd time was a charm for Marian Hossa, one of the greatest players we've had in the NHL for the last little while. But just a little sidebar there when people are tuning in the Stanley Cup week here on NBCSN. But to the heart of your question, Mike, I think just talking to a lot of people involved in the National Hockey League as far as players, coaches, ownership, everybody is obviously very excited, but knowing that we're still very early in this process of the COVID-19 and the pandemic, and getting through these small little workout groups that teams and players are allowed to have, and some are just staying put. A lot of players are just staying in areas where they probably feel a little bit more comfortable instead of maybe traveling right now. But again, it's the first step of maybe 15 or 20 until hopefully we can see some teams getting back together sometime in the middle of July or late July. And then hopefully we can drop the puck for real. And we've got a format, Mike, as we talked a couple of weeks ago. So there's a lot of excitement for sure in the people that I've talked to here over the course of the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, just the headlines on the phases. Phase 3, which would be the opening of training camp, not before July 10. Doesn't mean it's going to be necessarily on July 10, but hopefully if things work out in many of these cities that way, that's the case. And then we've all talked about a few weeks of training camp in maybe August to start to see some action. We don't know the cities yet, too. We'll have to see how that plays out. Edzo, if you were a player at this point, and a lot of guys, I talked to a couple of players actually the last week or so who have not been on skates or are just getting back on skates, how would you approach trying to think about, all right, maybe July 10 as a window to start a training camp, given where you've been the last 3 months?
Well, this is really foreign territory, Mike. And as you know, most of our players, when I say our players, the players that play in the National Hockey League, I mean, very rarely they take this much time off, even after a long grind of a Stanley Cup final. Think about it, right? Usually the Stanley Cup final is over sometime in the middle of June, and guys will be back on the ice or just playing pickup hockey probably towards the end of July, early August. So players do not go 3+ months without putting on their skates. Now, I know there have been some players that have been so-called skating in the dark wherever they are living, just to get out there, feel the puck a little bit, get on the skates. But as you know, Mike, there's nothing like being in hockey shape. And that's the biggest thing I think most players have talked about is, I could be in great shape and training and running and biking and on the elliptical and everything else. But, you go out there for the first time on skates, you're going to raise your hand to the teacher and go, no, honestly, I really did work out. I really did exercise when we had all this time out. But you have to get out there. So, I think if players can get on the ice themselves, Mike, for a good 3 to 4 weeks, whether it's 3 days a week, whatever it is, and then they could get back. I think most coaches and players I've talked to feel like they could have maybe a 2-week camp. Now, if that's 14 days, obviously, you're going to have to give those players some time off, as well as how many players are going to be allowed to be coming back, Mike, with these teams as far as a roster size. That's another thing that they're still trying to figure out. So getting on the ice is the most important thing. Skating around and just, going at a certain rate, that'll help. But there'll be nothing like getting back with your teammates for a couple of weeks, and then you jump right into it. And whether you're playing the play-in or you're one of the teams that have the buys on either side, the top 4 teams, you got to get up to speed very, very quickly. There is no Cliff Notes version for what we are going to hopefully see here in the next couple of months.
And just to remind everyone, 1 through 4 in each conference will play a round robin, one game against each other to determine seeding. 1 through 4, 5 through 12 matched up to play in best-of-5 series. The winners of those will advance. Then we'll get the winners of these 8 series to join those other 8, top 4 in each conference. We'll have 16 teams. And then, Edzo, we'll have best-of-7 series now. We do know that. We're also going to see reseeding when it comes to that, which, Eddie, people have talked about for a long time. It will be interesting to finally see it in place for those next couple of rounds. The first round traditionally, and then the second round to see the best left taking on the worst left.
Yeah, and I think that that's right. And Mike, we talked a couple of weeks ago when the commissioner came out and made the announcement about the return to play format and what have you. I think the league has done an amazing job. Not only the commissioner, Mr. Bettman, but Bill Daly, the board of governors, the return to play committee, Players Association. I think that they got it right here. Now, you could argue, and again, you can poke holes at the format and whatever, but at the end of the day, I think that you certainly want to reward the teams at the top that had the best so-called the regular season that we did have that came to the conclusion to be able to go, okay, get your business done in those games that you're going to play for seeding, and then go ahead and then you get your invitation to the team that, the lowest seed. So top team, if it's Boston, then they go ahead and get whoever is the lowest seed. So I like how that they've decided on that. But again, still very early in the process of a lot of hurdles still to jump over here. But it's fun to talk about the possibilities and the matchups. And, look at, that Carolina New York series, Mike, the Hurricanes and Rangers. That's a dynamite series. Blackhawks and Oilers. Not a lot of defense there, so we better sharpen up our pencils and have some extra sheets on the scorecard, because there's got a chance to have some games that are 7-6, 6-5 type of games when you have stars like obviously Patrick Kane, Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, Artemi Panarin. You can go on and on. So 2 series that are play-ins that are going to be, hopefully we get to that point, will be very entertaining because of the offensive ability and the skating on both teams.